And the more you think, the better you're going to play. That should be a quote somewhere. You know, the more you think, the better you're going to play.
What is happening? I am really bad at intros. I've done way too many takes of this already, so I'm just gonna go with it, man. I haven't made a video in a while. Well, at least on this channel, I haven't made like a non-meme slash like kind of click. You know, this channel, in case you weren't aware, there was a lot of clickbait on here, which was a pretty, yeah, that was a thing. And so I mean, there were also like other videos, but a lot of them are pretty weird. Video, I ain't kidding. Patrick Mott. All right, so man, yeah, today this video is something a little bit more serious. I had this idea for a while, and with me, you know, usually when I get an idea, I have to think about it for a little while. Let it marinate in the brain juices. You know what I'm saying? know what I'm saying? just to make sure, you know, everything is going all right. So about 2 months after I came up with the idea, I'm finally here actually executing it. And yeah, it's in the middle of October, so probably like nobody will ever see this video, watch it, whatever. But in case you're not aware, if you're new, I mean, especially if you don't know, I mean, I've made a lot of videos, quote unquote, more like voiceover stuff with whatever. I'm not really, once I record anyway, this is unscripted, in case you couldn't tell already. My videos are generally not scripted. They're more like a stream of consciousness sort of videos, right? So if you're not really into that, then, you know, that's fine. I've made over close to 400 videos on my other channel, which is completely different from this one. If you're not interested in music reviews or anything like that, then I wouldn't bother. But I'll link it in the description just in case, right? I just heard a weird sound. Sorry about that. It's still going. But anyway, dang, Biddy. All right. Well, it is October, so spoopy things are supposed to happen, right? Oh, it's my PTAC unit, which you could probably hear now, right? No, maybe you can. I don't know. Anyway, man, I love being concise. All right, so yeah, just enjoy, listen, you know, fall asleep to this or not. You could just click off. That's probably the better option. But anyway, you know, funny thing about this channel, this YouTube channel in particular, I actually began this YouTube channel back in, I believe, the summer of 2010, which is pretty interesting because that was the year that I started my freshman year in high school. And it just so happens, if you couldn't tell by the video title, that this video is about high school. And I want to, you know, there are a lot of things said about high school. You're told certain things about it by people, by older adults, by college students, by dropouts on YouTube. That last one was just whatever. But anyway, I'm told a lot of stuff about high school, and you know, sometimes, and you know, of course, in movies, you know, you see high school, American high schools in particular, being portrayed in a certain way. And I kind of want to just I don't know if anybody's done this before. Probably by this point. I mean, YouTube is far from new. This is probably the least original idea I've ever had, but I figured I'd sort of help ground the idea of high school for those who are maybe entering it at some point, who are curious and learning about what it's like, because it isn't really what everybody, and I mean everybody, both all the romantic ideas and all the very pessimistic things and everything in between. For the most part. Well, maybe not everything between, but you know what I mean. What I'm trying to get at here, I hope. I just want to make it as realistic as possible for you to help you understand what exactly the whole high school thing is about, right? All right, so I guess I should give maybe a little bit of background. I mean, I'm out of high school for a while, of course, but I the high school I went to is, let's just say it's not not the greatest. All right. That's not to say that it's terrible and like the teachers there are terrible or anything like that. No, it's a very poorly it's a very poorly ranked, what is it, academically ranked school in New York. Actually, it's that's kind of to be expected though, because it's kind of in the middle of a kind of lower middle class region of New York that's pretty much been forgotten. Yeah, the casino didn't help, did it? Anyway, I don't know. I don't live there anymore, so I wouldn't really know. But it's in a forgotten region of New York that nobody really thinks about or cares about unless you're looking to retire, or if you're of native descent. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe people from that area would find that last joke funny, but or if you're into wine, I don't know if wine is still a thing. Angry apple cider or something, whatever. And there's only one high. Well, okay, so I grew up in one town, but I went to school in a different town, and I sort of grew up in both as a result. They're one and the same. Yeah, one's a little bit bigger than the other, but they're pretty much the same exact thing. But the high school I went to isn't the greatest. All right, in any way, but especially academic, for the most part. Academic opportunities that we had at my high school, when I was there at least, were laughable. There were I think 4 classes designated as Gemini, which if you're not from this region of New York State, forget it, you don't know it, and that's all right. It's a very proprietary college credit that you can get that's only relevant to that area. If you do take those types of classes and try to transfer those college credits that you got in the high school to anywhere else, they won't accept it, other than the one college that sort of administers it and sort of oversees it. Well, no, that's not true. The network of colleges. Anyway, that's beside the point, right? So, and then as far as AP, when I was there was only 2 AP classes that you could take. AP US History and AP Biology. Academically speaking, the opportunities available to you were, if you were looking to sort of be ambitious, were pretty limited, extraordinarily limited. I have a friend here who lives down in Staten Island, who graduated from a private high school that he's been in college for maybe 2.5 years, and he's graduating with me, all because he got college credit in his high school. I'm kind of jealous, not gonna lie, but yeah. So the point of the matter is, my high school that I went to wasn't really that great. It's in a poorer area. It's not as well funded, and it doesn't perform very well academically. And it's not. If you look at, I'll put a screenshot up there maybe. According to U.S. News, the scorecard that they got, the College Readiness Index score is horrendous. It's only 12.8%, or 12.8, not percent, but just 12.8. It's extraordinarily low. It's the lowest score on there. And only 17% of students are AP tested. Oh, I also want to mention, too, that my high school had a very small population. So that's a thing as well. So let's see here. Where am I going with this? So the one thing about high school that I learned when I went from middle school, because a lot of people, a lot of your teachers from middle school, I think, kind of like, oh, you're going to high school, blah blah. Some people even go so far as to say that this will be some of the best years of your life they'll ever be, and one of the biggest pieces of advice that I can give about high school is and it's probably the most important. If you don't take anything else away from this, it's at least take this away. Do not allow yourself to peak in high school, all right? Because, imagine, right? You're in your 50s, right? You're pretty much, you're when you look back, you see what your life was, and you see that your life hasn't been that great since you were like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and the pinnacle of your life was in your teens, and then it was all just downhill from there. Yeah, don't let yourself go through that, all right? That's pretty sad. High school is going to be the best years of your life. See, I never bought into that in the first place. I was kind of a cynical. I still kind of am, to be honest with you, but I think I'm a little bit better now. But back then, I was pretty cynical about that sort of stuff. And one of the things I noticed about going from middle school to high school was that the only real difference was it was a different building. We had different teachers, and there was one more class of older students ahead of us. That was really it. The rest was pretty much the same. The schedules were the same. The scheduling was the same. The people in our class were more or less the same, even though a lot of people would drop out, and new people would just randomly come in, then disappear, then whatever, man. Anyway, for the most part, it was more or less the same. The sort of social hierarchies that existed in middle school more or less remained the same. It was just a different environment. And I think a lot of people really don't realize that. Maybe it's different for other transitions from middle school to high school, but for us, it was pretty much, from what I understand, it was all the same. Just, classes were more advanced, and whatever. There was a little bit more academic opportunity in high school than there was in middle school, but other than that, it wasn't really all that special, that radical of change, right? But I know, I've seen a lot of people sort of peak when they were in high school, and I kind of see where they are now. And they seem miserable. I'm not kind of projecting myself, because I know a lot of people look at what other people are doing and think, man, that life must suck. But a lot of people, success is relative to the person experiencing it. Whatever they think is success, and whatever, So, but there are also people I've seen who express their misery, express their, it's sad, brother. It's sad. I ain't kidding. Patrick Mott. It's don't fall into that trap, because a lot of people do. Yeah. It's and then it's those people. It's either those people or the people who drop out halfway through because they were nonconformist or whatever, who then go on and say how this is another point I'm going to make too. Your high school education means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. None of it is useful. Blah 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 blah. All right. So I hate that argument. There's this dude on YouTube, like Boy in a Band or something like that. He made like um this video, kind of like a diatribe against high school education. He says it's all pointless because they don't teach. I think one of the lines was like, I know the Pythagorean theorem, but I don't know how to file my taxes. It's like, you kind of missed the point. Oh no, sorry. You kind of missed the point of high school. You kind of it's like it went over your head, Biddy. All right, I ain't kidding. All right, so what is the point of high school? The point of high school basically is to prepare you for possible careers in the future, right? It's career training, not it's not explicitly supposed to raise you, right? I think that's one of the biggest issues about people's expectations of public school. That's that from kindergarten all the way up through your graduation, when you're 18 or even 17 sometimes, or 19 or whatever, that that's supposed to raise you. The teachers there are supposed to teach you, how to do things that, like teach you the alphabet or, that sort of thing. Like, I mean, maybe it is part of curriculum, but like, there's something that, there are some things that either if you don't have parents that can teach you, if you're curious enough, if it really matters to you that much, you can teach yourself. And I know that's kind of mind-blowing, but a lot of high schools, there are resources you have available to you where you can look into those things. If you have even an iota of curiosity, like especially nowadays, if you're a high school student, the internet, the information superhighway, all the information you could ever want at your fingertips, literally. I mean, in your pocket, right? I mean, what high school doesn't exist so that they teach you life skills, all right? It is, I mean, career preparedness is a life skill, but I mean, like, teaching you how to file taxes or, teaching you how to behave in social environments or whatever. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But, people who say that, your high school education is pointless there's another reason why they're wrong, though. They're wrong, but there's more than one reason why they're wrong. The other reason is that, the quality of your high school education depends very heavily on what you take from it. And that is something that I don't think a lot of people understand. You don't have to just, learn what's in the curriculum or, whatever. It's hard to explain. But a lot of people, I think they just take what they learn in high school at extreme face value and don't look any deeper into it. They don't have any, sense of curiosity or anything like that. They just expect what they're taught is going to immediately pay off upon their graduation or whatever. And that's not the case. Maybe it's just me, but I've always taken more away from my public school education than just the face value curricula that we were taught, right? And it's been extraordinarily beneficial for me. It's paid dividends so much. I haven't made types of mistakes that I would have back in the types of mistakes that other people are making now or have made later on because of the types of things that I learned in high school. And it isn't just like, well, how did you know that, like, how did you know this? How did you? I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. All right, just take my word for it. Your education in high school is what you make of it, and if you treat it as useless information, then it's useless information. It doesn't matter what they teach you. Even if they do teach you how to file your taxes or balance a checkbook, it's going to be useless information to you. If you don't take anything away from it, what use is it? So I don't know if that makes sense, but being curious is kind of a very good trait to have, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people who just expect high school to just prepare you for living an average, like just teach you how to be, I don't know, how to pay the government is kind of it's kind of the voice of someone who misses the point. And that dude has always bothered me because of that. That dude of Boy in a Band or whatever, dude, he's always bothered me because of that. It's so short-sighted, extraordinarily, so short-sighted and narrow-minded that it's gotta be this. This is my vision for what. So you're just gonna raise people to be as average as possible, right? Or not even try to inspire curiosity. That's a lot of this stuff too. I mean, high school education is sort of supposed to expose you to as many different fields as it can, so that it can sort of inspire a sense of curiosity for at least one of those things, because then you can really dig into that interest that you have in one of those things, and then you can pursue it. You learn what to pursue because of that. And that sort of comes into my next point, right? A lot of people say, "Oh, it's okay to, it's okay to figure out what you want to do in college, whatever, that sort of thing." There's nothing wrong with that per se. However, it's a lot easier in high school. It's a lot better to do while you're in high school. Start as soon as possible trying to figure out what comes after. Do not be short-sighted on this point either, because this is a process that could take you a very long time. Something that you thought was interesting to you in middle school might not interest you by the time you are done with middle school or into high school. You can't, and then you have to find that all over again. Really try and find yourself in high school, because high school for most people is free. It's government funded, right? So you don't have to worry about depending on student loans to pay for college, just so that you can you have the undecided checked off on your major for your form. You're paying thousands of dollars and you have no direction you're going in. It's a lot easier to do it in high school if you're at any stage in high school. I mean, it gets more dire the later you're in, but like if you're a freshman especially, just start now. Start trying to find yourself now, because I'm telling you, it's going to be to your benefit, because the later it gets, the more dire it becomes, the more real things get, especially if you're, trying to get a higher education or something like that. It would help if you knew what you wanted to get a higher education in. And a lot of high school people don't think about that stuff, and I understand, but you have to. I mean, it's okay to do it in college. That's what your counselors will always say. Go to community college, just get your, associates in liberal arts or whatever, and then you just figure it out while you're there, and then you can go to a 4-year school. But then what if what if what you wanted to pursue didn't require the 4-year degree? You start all over at the community college again. That sort of thing. Really try and pinpoint exactly what you want to do, and then while you're in high school, and then kind of go from there. It might take a while too. It's not going to come immediately. That's one of the things I think a lot of people just sort of put off, or don't, in some cases, don't even explore at all. So yeah, really, really try and get into figuring yourself out in high school, I think, is another really important piece of advice I can give you. It's not easy, again, but not everything comes easy, right? So, yeah. The other thing, let's see. High school relationships. I have a couple of videos on here. I have a couple of videos on this channel, very old. I think they came out, I think I uploaded them in like 2012. Those are some interesting videos, brother. I ain't kidding. And high school relationships, man, those are something else. But they're not necessary. All right. I'm just telling you right now. I mean, if you find yourself in one, great, but don't let it be the thing that defines you, because some people get lucky, right? Some people just, they stick with the person they find in high school, and it's just forever. I have a couple of friends who are still with they're still with their girlfriends that they freaking got together with almost, our freshman year, right? So yeah, it's possible, but that's not everybody, all right? And don't convince yourself that it's going to be that way, because you have more important things to worry about in high school, and that's really finding yourself, establishing your sense of self to yourself, rather than the relationship stuff should sort of be maybe even tertiary, if not lower, on the level of list of priorities, in my opinion. Just because you want to be able to set yourself on a path that prepares you for what comes after high school. Because I think a lot of people just see high school as this thing that couldn't possibly end. But when it ends, it's all over, right? But it doesn't have to be all over. You can still, things can get even better when you leave high school, when you graduate from high school. That's kind of what happened to me, at least. Maybe I got lucky, I don't know. But another thing you might want to know, your academic standing, where if that means anything to you. It doesn't mean a lot to many people, I don't think, but your academic standing in your class really doesn't matter. Well, at least if you're from a school like mine, a very small school, right? Because just because you get high grades or someone else gets higher grades than you doesn't necessarily mean they're all that. They're very good, even being good at students. The guy who was third in my class is I'm just going to say he's a complete idiot, right? And the only reason why if you're watching, I'm sorry. But come on, brother, all right? He basically got to where he was because he mooched off of the work of other people and cheated his way up there. He kind of weaseled his way up there. And his work ethic is just non-existent. At least from what I remember of him and from what I see him demonstrate because he's trying to trying to do all these get rich quick schemes because he's that quick payoff. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm saying, and that's another thing too. All right. Whew. All right, the quick payoff. When my first semester in college, I had a physics professor. He was a jerk. Brother, I ain't kidding. He was a jerk with a capital G. All right. I don't know why that's funny to me, but it is. All right. I'm just going to roll with it. But one of the things he said right in the very beginning, he gave his first lecture was just telling us how his classes run, right? And so one of the things he said was he said, a lot of you guys, I've gotten a lot of excuses to miss classes or labs or whatever because the excuse is, well, I had work or whatever. And he said, well, how about this? If you finish this lab, I'll pay you $20. And the student who said agreed, they finished the lab, he gave them the $20 or whatever, legitimately, right? And the lesson he told at the end of that was like, college is like an investment, right? You're paying so much money to get a higher education. It's an investment in your future, in the long term, right? And so you're prioritizing something that's minimum wage or whatever, just so that you can get that pay now, a much smaller one than you can get with your degree, right? And the idea is that a lot of people, again, can be a little bit short-sighted, right? And they'll just they'll prioritize the thing that makes them happier the quickest, whether or not it lasts, regardless of whether it lasts or not. And that's something that is also very relevant to high school, because I knew a lot of people who used sort of their part-time jobs or whatever as a means of excuse to not do schoolwork or not show up to class or whatever. It's a bad idea. He called them a schmuck. That's what he called them. And yeah, you kind of are. If you're just going to, prioritize the short-term, quick payoff in favor of the rather than prioritize above that the long-term investment, because I think a lot of people just figure that things should come to them quickly. I mean, I guess you could say that's sort of the success. They are almost entitled to very quick success at something. Almost immediate, because maybe because we're conditioned to, because of how technology gets faster and faster or something like that. Maybe not, I don't know. I'm not demonizing technology at all, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video. So yeah, but anyway, I wouldn't be able to record this, so. But yeah, don't be short-sighted. Do not just think about what's happening tomorrow, or think about the long term, the long haul. Where when someone asks where do you see yourself in 5 years, that's kind of a dumb question. I would ask, where would you want to be in 5 years? Make that. Actually think about that. Don't just kind of like, 5 years is a long time. I got time, because you don't. You do not have the time. Now is in high school. Now is the time to find an answer to that question. Even if that answer kind of changes with time, at least give yourself a general direction, right? And just, I wouldn't say, don't try in high school either, because, your grades and your SAT or ACT scores, they do matter when it comes to college placement if that's what you're getting into. Then yeah, that's something important. But at the same time, if you have the B plus rather than the A that you may have wanted before, yeah, don't worry too much about it, right? Because unless it's an extremely, friggin' what the mott, my air conditioner came on. It scared the mott out of me. Mott, that's a school. That's a freaking joke old as high school itself, isn't it? But anyway, what was I saying? I completely lost I got derailed really bad. D-Rob. Oh, bored. That's them. Okay. Okay, anyway. I just blew into my bed. Yeah, don't be the type of person that's just like, oh man, this is all pointless. What does it mean? Or, try, but don't also be the person who like gets totally like broken because you got, a bad grade. Just do your absolute best. Or maybe if not your absolute best, then just make an effort, right? If you make the effort, it will pay off, right? I've found that I've performed better academically outside of high school. I've performed better academically in college than I ever have in high school. I don't know why. There could be a lot of factors to it. A lot of it, I think, deals with the fact that teachers in high school, specifically English teachers, pretty much every English teacher that I ever had, never understood my writing. There was only one teacher in high school I ever had who did understand what I was writing, and yeah. And then, going into college, pretty much all my professors understood what I was writing about. So, yeah. That's the other thing, too. Another thing. I'm very nostalgic for my first semester in high school. Not for maybe the reasons that a lot of people would be, but because of the professors that I had. Another. Well, he wasn't a professor. He was just an adjunct instructor. But he's really cool. He told this story. I had the privilege of hearing this story twice because I took 2 of his classes. He was in English 101 and English, I think, 103, instructor. I took both of those classes. And he told this story about a tree that his mom found that was kind of like wilting, kind of like a Charlie Brown tree, you know what I mean? That kind of wilting, kind of small, kind of weak. And she took it and transplanted it into their front yard. And then she said, if this environment is right for it, then it will thrive. And if it doesn't thrive, then it won't. And it, grew big and strong and tall and whatever, And the idea was that, some people did really well in high school, and then when they get into college, they get hit with a brick wall. And in some cases, some people didn't do as well as they wanted in high school, but then when they went into college, it was just much better. And some people thrive in both places, you know what I mean? And it all depends, right? It all depends on, how you go about it, I guess you could say. Or something, I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make here is that college isn't a universal choice that everybody has to make. So, like, your counselors in high school will tell you, oh, so what college are you going to go to? You don't have to. You really don't. If what you chose as your life path does not require a higher education than a high school diploma, then don't feel like you have to go. Don't let anybody pressure you into doing things that you do not want to do. That's another thing too. All right. And if we're going to be on a lighter note here, I'm going to talk about high school dances, particularly. In my high school, there was a junior prom and a senior ball. I went to neither of those, and especially when it came to the senior ball, I had people saying, "You're gonna regret not going," because I would always say, I would regret going anyway because it's not my idea of fun. And a lot of people were like, "You're gonna regret not going later on in life, blah blah blah." That they use these tactics, trying to be Nostradamus and tell the future or whatever, not fully understanding maybe who you are or what you do for fun, what your idea of fun is. Don't let people pressure you into doing something you don't want to do, right? I have yet to start regretting not going to either of those things. And from the stories I heard, the horror stories I heard from both of them, I'm glad I didn't. All right. I'm going to be straight up with you. I'm going to be very transparent and say I'm still glad I made the choice that I did, because it wouldn't have made my life experience any better than it has been right now, up to this point. So yeah, that's one thing you also have to consider, right? But it helps if you find yourself. So please do that, because you might end up doing things that you kind of regret doing, right? Let's see, what else? Did I cover everything? This is long. I apologize. This is kind of like a meandering sort of thing, so I apologize. Not in advance, because we're already deep in the bowels of the video. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. I watch a lot of Based Shaman. All right, so if you don't know who he is, don't worry about it. But yeah, high school is an interesting time, but it isn't that magical that you see in the movies or that you've been told and by your elders. For some, it could end up being something like that, but most of the time it isn't, right? It's more or less the same kind of stuff, unless you I don't know, you live in some place where it is magical mystery or magical whatever, I don't know, this sort of great time or whatever. For me personally, I've seen, high school as sort of like the transitional period for myself from, I basically took the time to sort of figure out who I was and what I was like, the things that I was into. And I mean, right in the nick of time, I will say, I found out what I wanted to do pretty late in the game, but I started pretty early, and that's the one thing that if you start early, then you'll have a better chance of figuring out in time. And luckily, I did figure out what I wanted to do, who I was, all that stuff. You figure out at least the basics. Just figure out the basic foundational stuff. High school is all about foundation, man. All about figuring out, where the basic elements of what makes you you, and what makes you interested in what you want to do, and figuring out the basic blueprint on how to figure out how to put yourself in the position to achieve what you want to do. Just setting down the foundational stuff. That's kind of what all public school is supposed to do, but come on, elementary school is a joke. Middle school is a little bit less of a joke. I think my middle school actually took itself a little too seriously, but I'm not gonna for middle school. I'm not gonna go there. Purple hand pledge. All right. Anyway, and then high school is kind of like your last chance, pretty much, but it's also a good time to do it because, I mean, if I were to ask myself what I was going to be when I was in middle school, I would have said, I'm going to be an aerospace engineer. Brother, you're not good enough to pass the state trig exam, all right? Don't go doing something you're going to be terrible at. So yeah, I'm terrible at math. That's one thing. I'm one of the statistics for my high school. Why my high school doesn't perform very well in math, but I think that's because a lot of math teachers I had weren't that great. But that's a different story. It's a different story, Brady. Figure out your strengths. Figure out what you like. Try to put those strengths in the same sort of realm. You try to use those strengths to your advantage, basically, and use those strengths that you do have to pursue the things that you want to. And eventually, I think, in the end, if you really, really try hard, really try to develop yourself, really try to do as well as you can in all facets of everything, you try to keep a good relationship with teachers, all that stuff. Don't get in trouble all the time. I'm not going to say that. If you just do your best, you will likely come out better off than maybe some of the people who graduated above you. Maybe not, who knows? It depends. Again, success is relative. Whatever you see as successful is success in your eyes, and that's, in the end, all that matters, right? Because I'm postmodern in thought. I'm a postmodernist. I'm a relativist. Nothing is definite. Nothing is, anyway, I'm getting off topic. But in any case, I think that's all I had to say about high school. If you're interested in hearing high school stories, I suppose I could share some with you. Although, I will say, my video series that I have on this channel, called She's Your Girlfriend, Not Your Wife. Still that title, man, it really just like a sucker punch, you know what I'm saying? If you want to hear some really, I mean, man, that's a time capsule video, man. It's still up. It's still kicking, I think. I made some pretty memey videos when I was in high school, Brady. I mean, if you want to know the type of kid I was when I was in high school, man, just check out the videos in this channel that date before, I want to say 2013. I was still in high school in 2013, but yeah, I was much different. Believe me, I was much different. Big beautiful anyway, on this big beautiful YouTube channel. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. I hope you took something away from this, or maybe you took nothing away. Maybe you clicked off in the first 2 minutes because I took too long to get to the point, but that's just how I roll. Yeah. Anyway, it is 3 a.m. and I have a class tomorrow. Fun times.